Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Atira binti Mohamed with a metric number of 2118530.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Nadra binti Sukri. My metric number is 2113284.
My name is Nur Aina Marjah binti Muhammad Hafifi and my metric number is 2115916.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Amira Alia binti Ismail with a metric number of 2117468.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Aina binti Zakaria and my matrix number is 2110156.
Poverty has always been a serious issue in many nations, including our own Malaysia, and it continues to be so now, not only in backward or developing countries, but also in developed countries. You can see tons of people are living and sleeping on the street, under a bridge, and even in a car. The term poverty refers to individuals who do not have access to basic necessities such as food, drinks, clothing, and even a shelter. Not only that, but they are also unable to get a proper education, water sanitation, healthcare, and so on. This usually happens to people who are living in rural areas where they have fewer job and education opportunities and less development compared to the urban areas. The Department of Statistics Malaysia reported that the prevalence of absolute poverty by state shows that Sabah recorded the highest percentage of 25.3% in 2020 compared to 2019, which is only 19.5%. And ever since the COVID-19 outbreak hits the world, the situation gets more worse and more people are currently living in poverty.
Poverty in Malaysia is often portrayed in the media, although the issue doesn't get enough attention. Malaysians who fall into this poverty trap are influenced by many factors that we need to pay attention to in reducing poverty. The first cause of poverty in our country is a lack of education. People living in poverty cannot afford to pay for school expenses, thus they have to leave school to work. Therefore, it can lead to people continue living in poverty because they do not have the literacy and numeracy skills to develop their work in the future. Furthermore, this problem is also arised by the rising cost of living, especially in urban areas. Hence, people's lives are disrupted because they do not have enough money to meet their basic needs. Poverty also results from the supply of jobs being less than the number of people applying for jobs, which leads to unemployment. It is even worse when the population faces a severe unemployment problem as a result of the outbreak of COVID-19. Last but not least, people are also affected by poverty when natural disasters such as floods occur, which Malaysians experience every year. Significant floods can be causing people to suffer losses, which lead to poverty. In order to solve the problem of poverty that is becoming rampant in Malaysian society today, all stakeholders including individuals, the government, the private sector and the cooperative sector must communicate and work together to prevent the problem from worsening. The first solution includes providing scholarships for unfortunate students. Secondly, hold carnival program which organized by the government that provide opportunities for those who have not yet found jobs. Other than that, the importance of non-governmental organizations (NGOs) in providing aid to people in need which cannot be overstated. Last but not least, Zakat and Sedekah also play a crucial role in eradicating this poverty as elaborated in the discussion.
Zakat is an Islamic finance phrase that refers to an individual responsibility to contribute a set percentage of his or her money to charity each year. Giving money to the poor is considered to purify yearly earnings that are greater than what is required to fulfill a person's or a family's fundamental needs. Meanwhile, Sedekah is a voluntary act of charity performed in order to please God. This does not have to be physical or voluntary in nature, and it can be given in any quantity. Muslims are required to pay two forms of zakat, which is zakat al-mal and zakat al-fiqh. There are several types of zakat al-mal, which is zakat on earning, business and others. Meanwhile, zakat al-fiqh is a minor charge that all Muslims must pay every year. For sadaqah, there are countless amount of sadaqah roles that we can do. The most popular sort of charity are monetary donation to the less fortunate, physical and mental assistance to the less able. Based on our topic, contribution of sadaqah and zakat on poverty alleviation, our group has decided to come up with 5 different questions to address the role of zakat and sadaqah in alleviating poverty in society.
Does zakat helps to motivate people to seek job opportunities? Eventually, yes.
Individuals are not encouraged to be lazy by receiving zakat and sedekah, but rather to encourage them work. Zakat and sedekah provide the poor a sense of purpose and confidence in their ability to take care of themselves. For people in need, zakat and sedekah are a source of strength. Before finding work, the poor must overcome several obstacles in order to find a suitable employment. They need money for transportation, food, clothes, and other necessities. As a result, zakat and sedekah would at the very least ease their financial burden, allowing them to attend a job interview with confidence. Zakat and sedekah recipients are motivated to work in order to move from zakat recipients to zakat payer. They know what it is like to be impoverished and witness others living well with their own belongings. As a result, people will be inspired to earn their own money and become givers rather than receivers. Finally, by paying zakat and sedekah, people not only fulfilling their obligations and donate to charity, but they also urge those in need to seek employment and earn their own money. After getting their own property by work, they could donate zakat and sedekah to those in need and continuing the cycle. They donate zakat and sedekah to encourage people to work on their own. It will also help to elevate property in this country by providing work for the underprivileged and allowing them to support themselves. Our Prophet also said, the upper hand is better than the lower one, and begin charity with those who are under your care. The best charity is that which gives out of surplus. He who asks Allah to help him abstain from the unlawful and forbidden, Allah will fulfill his wish. He who seeks self-sufficiency will be made self-sufficient by Allah. This proves that a person should not always be a receiver, but instead be a giver. In afterlife, Allah will place the giver a higher place than the receiver. Therefore, everyone needs to work hard to be a giver, so in the afterlife, we can have a better place.
Does zakat and sadaqah helps in preventing inadequate education to students? Yes, definitely yes. Education is undeniably essential for all humans regardless of who they are or where they are coming from, since education is a significant social investment that will benefit them in the long run. So to some people, they want to be successful and have a good job to reduce their parents' burden and even have their own comfortable house to live in. But getting an education, on the other hand, is very vital for those who are poor in order to overcome chronic poverty and to avoid the transfer of poverty from generation to generation. I think Malaysia did a great job by providing free education to students aged 7 to 17 with a total of 11 years, except that they need to pay for certain fees and school expenses such as school uniforms, shoes, stationery, foods to eat during recess, and so on. So these are things that they could not afford, and that is how Sadaqah plays a great role in helping these students to get a proper education. Hence, if we have extra income, we could always donate them as charity to the trusted NGOs so that they can use this money to buy all those school needs. However, charity does not always have to be in terms of money. We can also donate some of our unused uniforms and shoes that are still usable for those who are in need. And ever since the pandemic struck the world, we have been attending courses and lectures online instead of face-to-face. As a result, owning learning gadgets such as smartphones, laptops, and so on is regarded as a need in today's society to get an equal access to education. However, as we all know that many students still cannot afford to have either of them, so a member of parliament, Syed Sadiq, had the initiative to perform a crowdfunding from those who wish to do charity, and he successfully earned 196,668 ringgit to purchase tablets for poor students in Muar Johor. This shows that how charity from people could actually help in preventing inadequate education for students. On top of that, the contribution of zakat could actually give hope to students with a higher level of education to finish their studies and eventually get the chance to change their life. Most of the higher education universities in Malaysia have provided financial assistance to their students, which are handled by the specific unit in distributing zakat. With this, they don't have to opt for PTPTN as it will add more burden to them in paying back the amount they have borrowed with the interest. But zakat, on the other hand, does not require students to pay them back. So with the aid of zakat, they may take a load off their shoulders and concentrate on their academics without having to worry about repaying the money they have received throughout their studies.
Do you think zakat and sadaqah can contribute to economic growth? Of course, it is yes. Zakat and Sadaqah have huge positive impact to a country's economic growth. Zakat and Sadaqah can help to eradicate poverty in country. Poverty is a controversial economic issue in any developing country, and Zakat and Sadaqah are two of the many ways to alleviate poverty. It is mentioned in the Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 277. Indeed, those who believe and do righteous deed and establish prayer and give zakat will have their reward with their Lord, and there will be no fear concerning them, nor will they grieve. The effectiveness of zakat in alleviating poverty is determined on the technique employed to distribute cash in the given society. Zakat money are distributed through government and non-government organizations in countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, Egypt, and others. Zakat money can be utilized to boost infrastructure development, agriculture, and farming, which is the major sources of income for many in our nation. It may assist in the creation of jobs by developing tiny cottage business for the less fortunate, as well as possibilities for common people to sell their wares at the local market. It may also guarantee that a society's governance and social fairness are upheld. Consequently, zakat helps to reduce the gap between the rich and the poor. It reduces economic disparities in the community. The affluent cannot continue to get richer while the poor continue to get poorer. Other than that, the contribution of zakat and sadaqah to a country is it can increase the purchasing power of household and encourage the poorest and the most impoverished people to consume more. Purchasing power of currency is defined as quantity of product or service that one unit of money can purchase. The rise or reduction in how much customer can buy with a given money is referred as purchasing power loss or gain. When prices rise, consumers lost purchasing power, and when price fall, they gain purchasing power. The transfer of property from zakat payers and also the act of sadaqah can increase asnaf purchasing power for basic daily requirement needs, which leads to the increased demand for item in the market. Increased demand and supply activity in the market can help asnaf enhance the country's economic growth and development by increasing government income and tax collection.
Do you think with zakat and sedekah can improve the environment for people in poverty? The answer is yes. According to UNICEF and World Health Organization, millions of people continue to suffer from poor access to clean water, sanitation and hygiene. It has been argued that those who are in need and have been living in poverty, particularly those who live in rural areas, it has occurred in practically every country on the planet, including both rich and underdeveloped nations. In Indonesia, for example, the poorest people are falling behind due to considerable gaps in household sanitation. Over 70 million people still do not have access to improved water resources, and more than 110 million of countries' 240 million people do not have access to improved sanitation. In metropolitan areas, just approximately 2% of people have access to sewerage. As a result, the people there are prone to sickness. Furthermore, they only have rudimentary knowledge of environmental cleanliness and lack of healthy living behaviors, one of which is practicing open defecation. There were only two main water sources for them to access before the aid of zakat and sedekah, which were the river and water springs. Local inhabitants have been helped by the government, which has provided public water tanks and devices to pump water into them. This communal facility was constructed near the homes of the residents. Majority of the toilet latrines, on the other hand, were insufficient and dangerous. The toilets have no roofs, only made from plastic walls, and some people did not even construct a normal septic tank with a systematic closed-hole excavation. Open defecation is the sole alternative for those who do not have access to toilet. Open defecation is a problem not only in Indonesia, but also in other developing countries like Cambodia and India. The issue has caused a lot of inconvenience towards the community, such as people being affected by diarrhea due to practicing open defecation near the river. When it comes to rainy season, many of the countrymen, especially children, will be affected. It is because they are utilizing the water from the river, which is one of their primary resources. As the world's largest Muslim country, Indonesia stands to benefit significantly from zakat funds. This zakat contribution should ideally be used for drinking water and sanitation improvements. The locals themselves experience substantial changes due to the toilet construction. The majority of them have sanitary facilities that are genuinely standard and appropriate. The practice of open defecation a standard sanitation facility at their homes thanks to zakat and sedekah.
Does zakat and sedekah can deal with flood disaster situation? The answer is yes. Flooding is a natural phenomenon that frequently occurs in numerous Malaysian states. A flood may be defined a condition in which water inundates a large area that occurs immediately or unexpectedly. This phenomenon, which has claimed hundreds of lives, is considered devastating and leads people into poverty. Broadly speaking, enormous amounts of rain are leading cause of significant flooding in Malaysia. Prof. Dr. Hayati Shafi'i, a lecturer in environmental management at the University of Tusin on Malaysia, said that the leading causes of the problem were high rainfall intensity, dense construction, poorly maintained drainage system, and problem with pollution of drains and outfalls. Therefore, communities need to be aware that pollution such as the discharge of waste into sewers and drainage system which contribute to flash flooding in their neighborhoods. Thus, there should be early recognition as the effect of severe flooding can lead to destruction of flood victim homes, livelihoods and other assets. As a result, those affected could end up living in poverty as they were cut off from food and drink, were homeless and lost their source of income. Based on the above effects, it was evident that this natural disaster will undoubtedly keep people stuck in a cycle of poverty. The question now is, how does zakat and sedekah deal with this situation? Should we know that some provisions can be offered to the needy in Islam, especially zakat assistance? This is the case because zakat legislation aims to help the needy. Some people may be wondering if flood victims are entitled to zakat or not. According to some ulama, consider the above situation a disaster because their property has been destroyed and they need assistance and obligations for themselves or their families. As a result, most ulama classify such individuals as Aslam al-Gharimin or debtors. Example of zakat assistance is the Mufti of Federal Territory, Mawib, has allocated additional zakat funds of 35 million ringgit for flood victims. Therefore, it is possible to reduce the expenses and responsibility of the flood victims through this zakat. Besides, sedekah can help the victims of the floods who have problems with structural damage to their houses, whose property has been destroyed, and also tradesmen whose business premises were destroyed. One example we can quote is when Malaysians perform sedekah that through social media outlets such as Twitter, TikTok and Instagram are flooded with posts from victims asking for help, and Malaysians turn to help under the hashtag Direct Banjir. This can make it easier for authorities such as NADMA, ATM to provide quick assistance including security, food, beverages as well as medicines. Not to forget the contribution of generous donors send raw materials for cooking, contribution of mattress, rubber mat, school supply and other items as needed. In a nutshell, zakat and sedekah could help the flood victims suffering from the tragedy and relieve them from poverty.
For the conclusion, zakat and sedekah leave a great impact to man. Man is born with a greedy nature and his need for ever-increasing material wealth is never fulfilled. Zakat and sedekah is a spiritual journey that takes your empathy inner self to the outside world. From zakat and sedekah, man can develop the ability to think about other people rather than his own interests. Some people, they are really working hard to earn money to help other people. Actually, this action can purify a person from being selfish and have a greed. They are willingly to giving more rather than receiving more as they think there are more needy people out there that need their helps.
Sedekah and zakat, on the other hand, have a social and national impact. Zakat and sedekah help create social justice by balancing the financial needs of society's many sections. It reduces the number of people involved in criminal and terrorist operations. As a result, everyone in the community cooperates to achieve growth and wealth. As previously discussed, zakat and sedekah encourage people to work, thus lowering unemployment rates. Therefore, when wealth is spread equitably, the likelihood of an economic slump is minimized. Apart from that, zakat and sedekah can aid in the eradication of poverty among Malaysian families, allowing them to pursue their education and live in a better environment. Not to mention that zakat money can be used to support infrastructure development for a better environment and assist individuals affected by natural catastrophes. This demonstrates the importance of zakat and sedekah in helping individuals and society improve their quality of life.